Hello friend, it's Friday and that means UFOs and socialites and a little trip around my studio for some other things. So I'm Pat Sloan. I'm so happy that you're here. I like organizing things the first Friday of the month for my UFOs. That just seems to help me get everything in order. So but before we do that, let's first take a look at the Socialites, because our block is called Virtue and I really like it. They did an exploding star this time. There we go. And I have it here on the new metal book stand that came out. So I think that if mine are all in two fabrics. This is Morrison Park and I left, like, you know, the background is in the beige flying geese unit here. But I think that if you're using more than two fabrics, this would be really cute to put another light fabric in there to make the star look really different than it does when it has this sort of bursting effect when you see the background through here. The part that I like about this stand is they used to have these in a different color and now they came back out with it in pink, is that these are metal. So that when I'm working on a pattern, like this is the layout for the Socialites, when working on a pattern, I can use one of the needle minders to keep it up here. You could also use Wonder clips, but the needle minders are nice because they're a magnet and so it just attaches your paperwork wherever you're using it. This is one of Beverly's, my friend Beverly of Flamingo Toes. This is her little flamingo one. It's so darling. I just love it. It's got the little flower in it. So anyways, when you have the metal book holder, you are able to use your magnets on it, which is a big plus. So your Socialites for Virtue is today. That block is what you'll be making up. Now I am not going to probably play around with layout of this or anything until we get almost all the blocks done. Then I'll see what happens, see how I want to do it. UFOs, that is I want to dive into here because I went ahead and took a look at how did I do in April, and I think I did pretty darn good. I completed 8 things of my UFOs, and UFOs are things that I'm doing in like the evening mostly because I'm doing work stuff during the day, and so when I want to work on these is somewhere in the evening, and that I think is pretty good for March. Now for April I made a new list and I'm hoping that I get all of this done. So Main Street, I have the binding. Oh, I can reach it here. The binding is made, the label and the hanging sleeve are on, and so tonight hopefully I can go ahead and put the binding on Main Street and that will be done. I can usually do that in one evening. The red and white quilt, I have binding to do for that. The hope and the heart that I told you about, what was it, Tuesday I think, that those, or yesterday, I put those in the mail to the spa, so as soon as they come back they'll put binding on them, get them done. Then I counted, it might be a wrong count, but I counted, I think I have 7 other projects that need binding. Now there will be book projects that are coming back in April, and so I'll have to add binding for those. So if I get these ones up here done, I will be good for April. Then I still like to get my pillow shams made for the bed, and the blue blocks, I would like to get the sashings cut and maybe start moving that forward to getting the block set. I have to get a layout, you know, like what order do I want them in and that kind of a thing. So I got very organized, put all these things in these cute new folders that I got. Here's the one with the clothing. This is like a desk set package. Links are below. I went ahead and put all the links down in the description box for those two, for these and the other things. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button for me, okay? Thank you. We had a Q&A, so let me get to the Q&A first because I think that sort of rolls into kind of the things that we're working on. This is from Julie. And Julie wanted to know whether it was better to collect, you know, when you liked fabric but you didn't know what you were going to do. Do you get a fat quarter bundle or do you buy a layer cake? And that's a very interesting question. I think she also said she's a fairly new quilter, so I think that's difficult when you're new to know what to get from pre-cuts. Because one thing is, if you haven't made a lot of quilts with pre-cuts, you don't know yet how they look in a quilt, and you need to look at some patterns and maybe just try out all the pre-cuts in a quilt to see, well, did you like using a layer cake in a quilt? Did you like using a jelly roll in a quilt? And then you'll know whether you want to collect those. Also, there's a matter of how much fabric and what the size of it is. So let me just show you this, because it'll really let you visually see the difference between how much fabric you're getting. Layer cakes are 10-inch squares. Every manufacturer puts these packages together. They call them something slightly different, but they are 42 10-inch squares. They may have repeats. Often they'll have some repeats. Some fabric lines have very few repeats because they might have 35 fabrics in the fabric line, so you'll get very few repeats in here. But if there's only 12 fabrics in the fabric line, then you'll get more repeats because this is always 42 pieces. So you might have 2 of these and 2 of a lot of them. A fat quarter is totally different. So let me show you. This is a fat quarter, which is a half a yard cut in half. So they take half a yard and then they go along that seam at the top and they cut it in half. So you have basically an 18 by 20 piece. And if I take the layer cake and put it on top, then you will see the difference of amount of fabric that you get for the fat quarter versus a 10-inch square. So it's a lot more fabric. If you have a big print like this, if you see this print, and this is like a medium-sized print, but if you had a bigger print, you will get more of that print and be able to use a bigger piece of it. Patterns that use fat quarters might have bigger size pieces in it. The other thing is, when you buy a fat quarter bundle, you're getting a really different amount of fabric. The layer cakes are always consistent. You're always getting this much fabric. You can buy all these patterns that use this much. Fat quarters are one of each piece in the line. So remember I said some lines might have 12 pieces, some lines might have 35 pieces. So you might have a layer cake, you might have a fat quarter bundle. You might have a fat quarter bundle that only has 12 pieces. Or you might, and so it's a short fat, it's a little stack. Or you might have a fat quarter bundle that has 35 pieces and this big stack. Of course, the 35 costs more. 35 pieces of fabric costs more than 12 pieces of fabric. So there's a much different price range than the layer cakes. They're all very similar in price. The fat quarters are kind of wildly different in price, just because it all depends on how many pieces are in it. So I hope that little peek lets you visualize what you're getting, and I wouldn't worry too much. Just collect, if you want to collect, get some things that speak to you. If the fabric speaks to you, I would suggest getting some books with the fat quarter patterns and layer cake patterns, and then that way you know what you can make up with it. You can put, you have something that you're going to focus on being able to do with it. All right, let's talk about cross stitch a minute, because I need to get my little act together on this. I have yet to do this as a daily. Here's the one I'm doing every month, one section a month. So I am going to make a commitment to myself for April. For April, what I'm going to do is cross stitch every day a little bit. So I did not do that on the first. Did I? No, I did. I did a little bit, just a little bit. So this is the second, and I will nuts, right? So I am going to do that because I really love these. It's just not a habit. I have much more sewing stuff that I need to do, and I tend to do that. I find that if I've put this away in the rolling assistant shelf, I don't tend to get it out and work on it. So I am going to keep it out on the surface here. I'm going to keep it right out here on the edge, maybe on this side, for all of April, and see how that works, see how my focus is for it, because there are so many cute cross stitch that I want to do. Like this one just came. Look at that. Look, that is so neat. It's by Lori Holt, the Flea Market Flowers. It feels kind of like that 70s vibe. It has a, it has a thread kit too, so you don't have to go pick out threads if you don't want to, if you like those colors. I like those colors. This is done on 25 count, which I have not ever worked on yet because I'm a baby cross stitcher. So, but it's I would need to do that because the piece is 12 and a quarter, no, I don't know, 12 by 13, basically 12 and a half by 13 and a half, something like that when it's finished. But I just think that's super darling. They also came out, she and Fat Quarter Shop, I think, or maybe it's just her, I don't know. But anyways, whoever came out with it, this Lori came out with a thread conditioner. So I don't know if you're familiar with this. It's been around for years, thread conditioners. I think the colonial people had it. It's beeswax. And so there, it's just it's a little thing of beeswax. It's stamped with her bee, which is so darn cute. But you take your thread and run it across it. And it's just never been something I did a lot of, but I think I want to try it. So you would get your thread and just bring it across here to keep the tangles, just to keep the tangles out. So if you are huge beeswax for your thread, if that is something that you use all the time, leave me a comment about it because I would love to know if there's a trick or something special you do or no, because that's new for me. All right. This is the last thing today, but I have to show you this because you remember this is a freaking mess. Did you when I had the charity blocks on my ribbon I was holding up like this? Well, this ribbon came from this basket, and I went to put the ribbon back, and I thought, you know what? This is ridiculous. I need to address this. I need to fix it because it's making me nuts. This ribbon is some vintage ribbon that I bought years ago, and it came like this. You see the cardboard in there. So I bought this online from somebody, this vintage grosgrain ribbon, and I love it. I've used it forever for a lot of things. Apparently I got 2 of them. That one's is really down low. But here, look, this is what I've been putting this in here. This is not usable. This is just, and then why am I keeping all this? Why do I have these ties? I rarely use these. They've just been accumulating. So I need to figure out if I'm going to use them, I need to wrap them and make them tidy. Then I have a bunch of these spools, which were, things that I bought them at the trade show. So they would basically have been sold to shops and to designers for us to work with. I have one that's not even cotton. This is just like for wrapping things, for gifts. It's like, why is that in there? I have twine, like these twine. What else is in here? I have wish tickets. What? I got these years ago, I guess. 100 wishes. I think it was supposed to be for a gift for somebody. Give you 100 wishes. There's some cute ribbons, some more cute ribbons. And another cute ribbon. So these do not belong in here. This is total waste of this basket and space and, all of this. You can see now, here it is. All of this stuff is just nuts. I do have this pretty box, which I've had, just shove that in there. I've had this pretty box for years. It came with a gift in it and all of my vintage rickrack that I've collected. Other types of ribbons are in here. Like, look at this gorgeous ribbon. But they're nice, they're neat, they're tight, they're pretty tidy. Nothing in here is too messy. I've got stuff wrapped, like here, like this is wrapped. Most of it is wrapped, or at least fairly tidy. Well, here's a random rogue ribbon that's in there, untidy. Darn you. Okay, so this too is a little untidy. So this is what I need to get that. I'd have to organize that and get it to fit in here, and then I will feel better. This I will have that basket back for something more usable. All right, you have got your Socialites block, which is Virtue. And then I want to hear about your UFO plans for this month. Get yourself organized with, whoops, there you go. Well, get your sheet. You can download this sheet from my calendar page at my I Love to Make Quilts. so that we can know what we're working on. And if you use beeswax, let me know how you use it. Thank you for being here. I love you. Mwah. See you online.